This is me telling you something that I'm so, so passionate about. And I don't know why, but I woke up this morning and I was on Facebook, and I hate Facebook. I really, really do. If anybody follows me on there, you notice that I'm just sharing stuff from IG. IG just goes and shares for me. IG is not great with comments either, but Facebook for comments on just posts that I see. Like, I'll see if I'm watching reels on there, which I usually don't, and I think I finally learned my lesson. But I think Facebook is one of the biggest for me anyway, where I will see, and this is what we're going to talk about, people just being so hateful toward Islam and Muslims. And I literally, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Before I moved here, and I would probably say about maybe like before a few years ago, like I was indifferent. Like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't indifferent where like I wouldn't care. Like, I think it's horrible and all, but like I feel like now I have firsthand experience of living here in Morocco, which is a Muslim country. 99% of its population are Muslim, and I know some people want to like fight me with stuff I say. So for all disclosure, most of the stuff that I'm going to tell you is from ChatGPT. And now I just learned that ChatGPT isn't always right, which I knew it was 100%, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than I thought it was. But what I'm going to actually share, like that they shared, I can guarantee you it is right. Like, I'm just going to tell you it's right because you're going to hear the topic and you're going to be like, okay, yeah. When you break it down like that, ChatGPT, we can't argue. But in my own personal experience, living here in Morocco, living among, I don't think I know, no, I do know a few that aren't Muslim, but they're married to Muslims. So, like, guys, it's not, and I'm really talking to the West, I guess. I really feel like it's more for the West. But also this is for anybody that's just basically an idiot and just is close-minded. And maybe you're not close-minded. Maybe you were like me and you just, no, because no, if you were like me, you would never have thought any of the stuff that I read. I don't know. All right, guys. So people, I've been getting comments, actually a couple this morning. A couple of them I actually just deleted. I normally don't delete any comments on YouTube unless they're completely inappropriate or like hate comments, stuff like that. You know, other than that, like most of the time, even in the ones that you guys insult me, I just leave them. I had been told that a lot from friends because they're like, you don't understand. Even though it's bad, it's still good for the algorithm. I don't like the algorithm. I hate that thing about it. But meshi mushkil, you know, so I leave it. But when there's like hateful ones, like definitely I delete them. But there was some this morning that were talking about how living here and is really, really bad and you're an idiot and just a really hateful one, and that I was so much safer in America. And I'm like, are you serious? Now, this isn't me bashing America, because obviously America has some good things. But for me personally, it was not what I wanted anymore. And when I came, I didn't know that's not what I wanted because I didn't know any different. See, that's the thing, guys. That is the most important thing. I think that one of the most important things that you can take away from this is when you don't know any different, you don't stay like that. You open your mind. You stop being closed-minded. And maybe I went to the extreme and I moved to a different country, but it wasn't to find out how they lived here. It was more of just I came here and I loved the way they lived, you know, and you could see it. I was here for 10 days and I felt so much peace living here and calmness. And don't get me wrong, my life is not perfect. It's not even close to being perfect. Inshallah. Well, we are not perfect, guys. Humans, and if you don't know, in Islam, Islam is perfect, but humans are not perfect. So I will never be perfect, but inshallah, I will be better than I am now. I'm better than I was a year ago. But people need to stop being so close-minded. And I feel like, you know, obviously the media in the West does not help how things are portrayed. But I'm an American here living. Now, obviously, I know I'm not living in the war-torn countries. And, okay, we have a cat, by the way. We have Duja. Aji. All right, she's not going to come. She's going to randomly scare me in this video. All right, I got to get to this point. what was I saying? Oh God, this is hard, guys. I don't think I've ever made a video like this. Or I've made ones like this, but I was walking around. But I wanted to just get my thoughts out there, and I wanted to do one take wonder. I don't think that's a word, but one take, actually that's a song. One take wonder, and tell you. So basically let's see. I posted to ChatGPT, is America or Morocco more dangerous to live in? Okay, now with ChatGPT, you can get your answer, but then you can refine it more by asking more specific. So that's actually what I did, because I wasn't liking the first answer, and you'll see why, because it's very generalized. It's almost putting America in this light that it really shouldn't be, because it says that it's bad, but it's depending on where you are. But we all know that the most craziest school shootings have happened in the smallest little towns. So that's why I feel like it doesn't matter where you live in the United States. Like, it really doesn't. I feel like when I was a kid, it did matter where you live in the United States. You have a higher problem of having things happen in like LA, Compton, obviously. Compton's still dangerous. New York City, stuff like that. Big cities. But now, guys, the stuff has infiltrated everywhere. My town, my hometown, which I was always a lover of my town, Riverside, New Jersey. Shout out to everybody in Riverside. I loved it. And I would still stick up for it when Joe would be so down, like, this is getting bad, it's getting bad. I'm like, Joe, it's such a good town. We grew up here. But now, like, I'm going and I'm still seeing the feed from the Facebook page, the Riverside Town. And every day it's nothing but people posting videos of people breaking in their cars, or mostly that's what it is, but it's just everybody and everyone complaining, like, over stuff that I guess in America you have nothing else to do, and like, you do that. And I feel like here, this stuff that they complain about in America happens here, but people just let it go. They live just simpler lives because they think, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, don't sit down for like bad stuff, but like, just stupid stuff. But anyway, so the question was, is America or Morocco dangerous to live in? And it says, depends on the specific location, circumstances within each country. But generally, America, safety varies widely depending on the city and neighborhood. Some areas have high crime rates, particularly in larger cities, while other places are very safe. Violent crime, gun violence, and crime related to drugs can be issues in some parts of the country. So they very generalize it. Morocco, they say, Morocco is generally considered safe. Especially for tourists and expats in cities like Rabat, Casablanca, and Marrakesh. Now, when it said that, I was like, okay, I don't want it to just do tourists, because I feel like tourists generally they're more safe in countries. Now, don't get me wrong, there are countries that tourists should not be going to, or cities in countries that you shouldn't go to, or Americans. I know I hear that all the time, but in general, Duja, what are we doing? I can't see you, but you're making noises. I don't know. But in general, I felt, now I know I've only seen probably 5% of the country, but I have been from the north to the southeast, Merzouga. I've been to Marrakesh. So like, and Casa, I've been to like 11 cities. Medilt, I've been to Fez, Tanja, Fidendik. I know I don't say that right. And then I've stopped at little ones along the way, and I never felt unsafe. If anything, I felt so welcomed. But let's get back to the ChatGPT. So, however, petty crimes such as pickpocketing and some scams can occur, particularly in tourist areas. Violent crime rates are typically lower compared to, it's pictures, guys, screenshots. I'll go to the next one. To the United States. Now, I refined that with saying violent crimes, only including murder statistics, school shootings, give me only facts. And it says United States murder rate. Okay, so the murder rate, according to the FBI, is approximately 6.5 per 100,000 people. So per 100,000 people, 6.5 people are being killed. Okay, now, whereas in Morocco, it was like actually ridiculous. 0.4 per 100,000. 0.4. So we don't even have a whole person, but rest in peace to that quarter of a person. Now listen, that doesn't mean that things don't happen here. ChatGPT was completely right with saying, I don't know about pickpocketing per se. Pickpocketing, if you don't know, is the act of someone coming behind you and you're unaware, and they take your wallet out of your pocket. So it got the phrase picking out of your pocket. But obviously it can be a purse, whatever, pickpocketing. They're taking stuff off of you and you are unaware. Now I'm sure that happens, but I feel like here what mostly happens is people on motorcycle scooters. I have yet to see it in my real life and it's never happened to me, but they come by and grab your phone if you have your phone. I have never had that happen, but I cannot tell you. It has to be over at least 100 times since living here that I have had a complete stranger tell me in Arabic, but then we find out what they're actually saying. And now I'm so used to these words that I know I can't pronounce them, but they're telling me, watch your phone, keep your phone away, put your phone away. So nobody has done that. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And I feel like that is probably the biggest crime that's regularly happens here, even though I have never seen it, I've never experienced it, but I will assure you that there are so many caring people in this country that will look out for you and remind you to put your your phone away. But anyway, so violent crimes was over 6 people dead every 100,000, whereas Morocco is a quarter of a person. Now, school shootings, in 2022, there were 51 school shootings with injuries or death recorded by the Education Week tracker, whatever that is. Now, that is true, maybe, I don't know. They said 51 with injuries. So injuries could be injuries or deaths, I think. But here's another thing. I already asked it last week about how many school shootings have happened or how many acts of gun violence in a school has happened so far this year. And I think it was like 200 and some incidents. But now you're like, well, there was only 51 in 2022. But here's the thing, guys. There have been incidences where people just had guns in the school, like not police officers, not people that are supposed to. And it's been caught. And there's no injuries. There's nothing to report as far as, that. I think if I asked it, but I'm not going to go back into it because this video is already 13 minutes long. And this is really for those that have been asking for long, long videos. I hope it was okay with me just talking, but this is something I really feel adamant about. So school shootings, U.S. has had 51 with injuries. And in Morocco are virtually non-existent. In Morocco, they have been no recorded incidents of school shootings in recent years. Now, I was like, I'm not happy with that. I know my people are not going to be happy with that. So in summary, it said that the U.S. has a higher murder rate and a notably issue with school shootings, while Morocco has a much lower murder rate and no recorded school shootings. It did kind of close out with no school recorded shootings, but I said I wanted to get deeper. I said, has there ever been a school shooting in Morocco? Give me facts. And there has never been a recorded school shooting in Morocco. School shootings, as seen in some other countries, Muslim countries, are not a phenomenon in Morocco. The country has strict gun control laws and firearms are not widely accessible, which contributes to the absence of such incidents in schools. And not just incidents in schools, but just in general in life. You're not going to hear of people getting murdered every day by gun violence here. And then I went one more. How many murders a year in Morocco compared to the USA? Now, obviously, I know they're different sizes, but it still did the 6.5 and the 0.4 per 100. So the US had approximately 22,000 murders in 2022, according to the FBI and CDC. The number fluctuates annually, but remains in this range of 20,000 to 25,000 a year. Okay. Now, Morocco records significantly lower murders with around 500 to 600 murders per year. But now I wanted to know, why are people murdered? Okay, like I feel like that plays a big aspect. Why are people murdered? And like, what are the factors? What are the circumstances? Like, generally. And I said, what have been the circumstances of murders in Morocco since it's not common? That's the question I asked. And it says murders in Morocco, while relatively rare compared to other countries, typically occur under specific circumstances. Now, there should never be a murder that's justified, obviously. But I just wanted to see like how big of a range are people being murdered here in Morocco compared to America. Like people say it's not safe here or it's so much safer in America. Well, what can I get killed for in America? You know what I mean? So here it's domestic and family. Now people are like, oh my God, the husbands are killing the wives. Okay, I've never heard that here, but I'm sure it's happened in the past. But significant number of murders in Morocco are related to domestic violence or conflict within families. Now, remember, that could be brothers, that could be uncles. It doesn't have to be the women, but I know there'll be the haters in the comments and it's the men killing the women. Okay, but we'll just go past that. These often include disputes between spouses or extended family members. Interpersonal conflicts. Some murders occur as a result of personal altercations, such as arguments or fights between individuals. So I guess like just people in the streets. These can happen in social settings like bars, cafes, or neighborhoods. Now, let's be honest. We're a Muslim country. And yes, we are a big tourist country too. So of course we have bars. But do we have bars like we have in America? Absolutely not. I've actually only seen one bar now in Rabat. And it doesn't mean like there isn't more. But honestly, I only saw one. And guess what, guys? Guess what? There was no Moroccans in there. Now, don't get me wrong. There's Moroccans that drink. But the Moroccans that drink probably aren't going into the public settings to cause these fights. Okay? You know what I'm saying? These are for the tourists. Okay? Because the Moroccan people, the people that are, let them find the path again, that are drinking, okay? They're not doing it in the public and causing a scene. It's not happening. It's not happening. You might see like some unfortunately crazy, mentally ill people in the streets causing a ruckus. But again, those have mentally ill issues and meshi mushkil. So cafes, okay, cafes, maybe that could be over Kura. But it's not because like they're drunk. It could be just fights because actually I could see that happening. I can see it because you know what, guys? Y'all Moroccans are very passionate. But wait, we're talking about murders. Okay, never mind. I take that back. We're talking about murders. I was talking about fights. I could see fights happening over at Cora with the cafe, with me. But we all love Morocco team, national team. And inshallah, they will win 2030 World Cup, which is being hosted here in Morocco, as well as Spain and Portugal. So, yay. Let's go to the next one. Domestic violence. Okay. Wait. I missed something. Crap. I must have missed the question. The next question must have been what was America's. Domestic violence is the leading cause of murder in the U.S. Oh, wait a minute. So in America, the leading cause of murder in the U.S. is domestic violence. Now, doesn't always mean it's husband and wife, but it's still domestic violence, which is like relationship, family stuff and all. Intimate partners of firearms. Oh, frequently used in these killings. Okay, so the people that are saying, oh my God, the women are so oppressed, they get killed by their husbands and all. But yet in America, the number one leading cause of death is domestic violence, and it's by firearms. Hello, no firearms here. We don't have them. We do have them, but nobody has them. You get what I'm saying? Meshi mushkil. Hania. Mass shootings include school shootings, workplace violence. Attacks in public spaces are unfortunately frequent in the U.S. compared to other countries. Now we're not just talking about Morocco. You guys, U.S. is a whole different breed when it comes to mass shootings. Like don't get me wrong, things happen in other countries, but when you hear of mass shooting, it's America. It's always America. And when you hear about it in a different country, it's shocking. It's actually shocking. In America, y'all are numb to it because it happens all the time. Every day there's something going on. Hate crimes and extremist violence. Some murders are motivated by racial, religious, or political hatred. And I'm going to say, in my own opinion, I hear way more stories of Muslims being hurt or injured or killed by white people in America or people that just don't like Muslims. And drug-related violence, the drug trade and associated criminal activities contribute to the murder rate. Don't get me wrong, we're not drug-free here in Morocco. We are the third, not third. Did I read we are the biggest exporter of Moroccan hash in the world? Or of hash in the world, not Moroccan. Yeah, we got the hash. But I'm talking drugs, guys. Forget your marijuana, forget your hash. I'm talking about cocaine, heroin. Those ones are prevalent in America, especially heroin. Actually, we do have cocaine here because I actually just read that there was a drug bust, but it was by somebody else out of Morocco that was traveling through or whatever. You have to read these stories, guys, because a lot of times you'll hear stuff from other countries and you're like, oh my God. And then you find out it's not the person from the country. It's somebody from another country. They think they can get past stuff here, but you guys can't get past stuff from the Moroccan police, the Moroccan intelligence here. They got people on the streets, like legit, like it's the Italian crime family mobs. You know how they had the people on the streets that were like listening? That's how Morocco is. Morocco is integrated. Everybody, like they know what's going on. So you might think you're going to get away with something here, but you're not. So just so you know. I think that was a wrap up of it. The high murder rate in the U.S. is influenced by the widespread availability of firearms, socioeconomic disparities. Okay, that means like the poor to the rich, right? Like you have a lot of poor people and you have a lot of rich. Guys, it's the same everywhere. Like, I guess there are some countries that are really all rich, but even in the most rich countries like Dubai, or that's a city, right? Wait, no, guys, UAE, Dubai. There are places in UAE that's not like that. And I feel like everybody just hears Dubai and they're like, oh my God, it's so rich. No, there are people that are struggling there too, okay? Gang presence. I'm not sure about what the gang situation here is in Morocco. I don't feel like there probably is gangs, but again, they have no guns. So I know there are people here that have machetes. But again, when I think of machete, I think of the New York incident. You guys remember that story maybe 10 years ago of this little boy? Not little. Okay, he was a boy though. He was 16 years old, mistaken identity, got chased into bodega by gang members who thought that he was somebody else. And it's on video of this boy getting butchered by like 6 to 8 gang members right on the streets, and nobody could do anything because, first of all, they probably hurt you too. And, it's America. But this literally happened. It was like 10 o'clock at night. He tried, wait, it gets better. I forgot. Nobody helped him find. Nobody helped him what was happening as far as trying to get him away. But when the people left, nobody helped this boy. The hospital was across the street and he got up and tried to get to the hospital. He ended up dying. And that's when I think of machetes. So for the people that were like, oh my God, they'll kill you with machetes here. Yeah, sorry, never heard of a story yet here with machetes. I'm sure they exist, but my mind is ingrained in that video of that 16-year-old boy that got killed in New York City, busy ass street. And the bodega people kicked him out, guys. He ran into the bodega to get safety. They kicked him out. So those people that own the bodega basically gave him his life sentence. Oh my God, I'm gonna get passionate. Guys, this was all about stop saying that it's dangerous to live in Morocco. It is not. It is 100% more safer for me and my children. Just put my children alone. They're never gonna get shot in school, guys. It's not happening. So that's it, guys. 24-minute video, or 23-minute, because I have to cut the beginning. I played the song and then I stopped it, so I have to edit that. But straight through telling you that Morocco is a very peaceful country. Islam is a religion of peace. Islam is perfect. People are not. But the people here are generally so much more kinder, so much more caring to strangers and people than I have ever met in my, not telling you how old I am, years, in America. So not bashing America, because I know a lot of great people live in America, but I also lived there for my whole life and I saw it change. America did used to be, to me, pretty good. I loved it. I loved growing up in the 80s. Oh, I just told you something. And then in the 90s. But I feel like after I graduated high school, I feel like once the internet came and people start doing stuff, it got worse and worse, and you could see how much worse America has gotten. So stop putting down living in Morocco, because I'm very Anna. I forget it, but Anna Farhana in Morocco. Anna Farhana. Bislama.